everyone, welcome to this update video. I really hope you're doing amazing this morning. Now we're going to be talking about what is going on across the North Atlantic basin, and I also want to get into the details regarding a pattern change for the Caribbean in terms of weather activity that we'll be noticing over the coming weeks. And there was also Tropical Storm Sarah, which has now dissipated, the remnants of it still loitering within the vicinity of Mexico. So we're going to get straight into the details. And as we take a look at the satellite imagery here, we can see that frontal system which extends into the Caribbean, and there's also some moisture ahead of it. So you can see all of that convection out there just to the east of the Lesser Antilles. In addition, there is more activity along the intertropical convergence zone, so that is where trade winds of the north and south meet, and sometimes when they do, we tend to see this kind of surge in activity. Now, as we take a closer look at the Caribbean region, here we can see what is going on, and we can see some of that shower and thunderstorm activity associated with that frontal system. Now, we're going to be seeing more and more of these fronts making their way out of the U.S. and dip into the Caribbean. And what they'll eventually do is, ahead of the frontal boundary, there is an increase in activity, which we're seeing in parts of the Eastern Caribbean. But along with that, they help to decrease the temperatures, and we get a direction change in terms of the winds. We have more winds coming from the north, especially for the Greater Antilles. So that is typical with these fronts as they start to make their way down into the vicinity of the Caribbean. And another thing that they do is really help to stabilize weather conditions after that frontal boundary passes. So here we are looking at this graphic here. It is showing the dry air, and there is that frontal boundary. Notice that behind that boundary we have all that dry air setting into parts of the North Caribbean and even towards the Bahamas. So this is typically what happens when these fronts make their way down. So after they pass, we get these cool, dry conditions. Winds may kick up as well, and that is what has been happening across parts of the Caribbean. Even here in Jamaica yesterday was quite cool. You can let me know if you also noticed that change in terms of the temperature, a few degrees lower than what is typical. So things are starting to get cooler, guys. And we're going to also be taking a look at the rainfall forecast for today. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. And here you can see it. And the more color we see indicates more rainfall activity expected. Now, with all that dry air setting into parts of the Caribbean, there's not going to be a whole lot of rain across areas such as Cuba and even the Cayman Islands, parts of Jamaica, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and sections of Hispaniola. So there may be some passing showers, but there may not be a whole lot of widespread rainfall activity today. As we head towards Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, a couple showers may loiter around. Throughout much of the Lesser Antilles, it may be pretty wet today at times, with some periods of heavy downpours possible. And for the ABC Islands, that frontal system is nearby. So ahead of that boundary, there is some unstable weather conditions. So there could be some showers within the area. Northern South America, parts of Colombia, Venezuela, even the Guyanas will be a little bit active today. Similar story for parts of Costa Rica, Panama, and headed towards the vicinity of southern Guatemala, El Salvador. And with the remnants of Sierra still loitering around in the vicinity of Mexico, there could be some additional rainfall activity today. So guys, that is what is expected. And in terms of tropical cyclone activity, there are no other signs or hints of anything else forming, at least over the next week or so. And we're also approaching the inevitable end of the hurricane season. So the season officially ends November 30th. It doesn't mean that there will be nothing after November 30th, but that is the official end date, because we've had storms in December. And in terms of the next cool down with the next frontal system to approach, what we're going to be looking at is a temperature anomaly map. This is basically showing how much the temperature is varying from what is typical. So where we see those whites indicate where the temperature is pretty much normal, but the red and orange shading indicate above average temperatures. The blue going to those purple shadings indicate below average temperatures. Now, as we're going to be heading into the upcoming weekend, Saturday the 23rd of November, another frontal system is likely to be making its way out of the U.S., and it is going to be bringing with it more cool air. So we're going to find that parts of the Caribbean, especially the North and Western Caribbean for Central America, the temperatures are going to be dipping at that time. And ahead of the frontal systems, there's likely to be those periods of heavy rain and even those thunderstorms. And then after they pass, we're going to find that the winds kick up coming from the north, temperatures drop a bit, and there's also going to be a little bit of rainfall in some areas because of the dry air and more stable atmospheric conditions. So guys, that is what we're going to be anticipating as we eventually head into the next couple of weeks and even months, especially for January. And of course, I'll be keeping you posted on all that is going on across the tropics. And so that is what I wanted to share with you in terms of the weather conditions today. That's the update for today, guys, and I do hope you found this video to be quite informative. However, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll get to you when I have the chance to do so, and remember to always be weatherwise.